Now that we've created our facilities, our services, calendars, and categories, we've attached our fees, let's go and take a look at the advanced reservation module to learn how to do facility bookings. This will be helpful so that you can test your setup. Regarding testing your setup, please do not test in your live database. Your live database will record live transactions which cannot then be deleted. Whenever you're ready for testing, please let your implementation consultant know so that they can grab a copy of your existing live database and clone it onto your test database. Let's go and have a look at the Advanced Reservation module. We'll go to Facility, Advanced Reservation. You can do a search by contract number or by facility name here. The availability search will allow you to enter a time block, either between certain hours or for a certain duration, and for a specific day. If a client calls you and has a specific request to have a booking on Thursdays between 12 and 2, you can enter this information here by selecting the Thursday between 12 and 2. Entering this information will show you the availabilities for the Thursdays as you've mentioned here. Now, since we're only seeing 2 Thursdays, the reason is that the starting from and end date for the date range only takes us to the end of October. We can expand this by clicking on the calendar icon and look for a wider range of Thursdays to find out the availability. If there were bookings on those Thursdays for any of those facilities, some of these boxes would be yellow. Yellow would indicate that there is a partial availability on those days. The gray box means that there are no availabilities on that day. If you want those days to be consecutive, you can enter this here as well. Scrolling down will show you your filters. You can either filter by a specific calendar, by services, locations, facility type, if you've managed this list, and amenities also if you have managed that list. To do a booking, we recommend using the service as your first filtering method. The service that you select here will not only show you all the facilities that you've attached to that service, but will also automatically attach that service to the contract. This is particularly useful if you've used services to track different fees or duration blocks for a specific facility. We'll go ahead and select an ICE rental service and hit done. Now, ICE rental service is showing me all the availabilities on the Thursdays all the way up until January 1st. You have different options. You can see either this availability calendar or you can also see a timeline availability, depending what you prefer seeing. The timeline will show me the exact times that I've specified in my search, which was from 12 to 2. I'll go back to availability and select the East Rank on November 26th, starting at noon, and a pop-up comes up which will ask you to fill out the client information. If your client is attached to an account, the account name will show up as part of the contract name. You can either leave this as is, you can enter additional information, or use any contract naming convention that you typically use in your organization. We'll go ahead and enter November 2020. The service will be the same as the one you've selected for the filter, and the number of guests still has to be entered here as it is a mandatory field. The start date reflects what we've selected on the availability calendar. So does the start time, and the duration will allow us to choose a duration of time. Let's see if I can do a 4-hour block. Now, if you wanted to do another reservation on that same day for one of the facilities that belong to the ICE rental service, you can click on Add Reservation and select that facility. We'll go and add ICE Rink A for a booking starting at 6 p.m. all the way to 10 p.m. You can change this duration by clicking on the drop-down. Clicking on the drop-down under Repeat will allow you to either repeat it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or to set up your own custom repeats. If we were to repeat this booking weekly, you'd have to determine when the repeat would end. The repeat every will be the interval of the repeat, not how often you want the repeat to occur. If you increase this to 2, for example, that means that every 2 weeks this booking would occur. If you want it to happen every week, make sure to leave this as 1 and then either enter a number of occurrences after which this facility booking will end, or to enter an actual date. If there were to be any exclusions, you can also select this here. Now we'll click on Add the 2 reservations, where we have the ability to create another booking if we wanted as part of the same contract. Because we're using the availability search, some of our facilities are no longer available between this time range. To see them again, let's reset the availability search. And we can now see our 3 facilities are back under the ICE rental service. We can go and create any number of bookings on this availability calendar before actually having a look at the contract. For now, however, those 2 reservations are sufficient. We'll click on the number 2, which is right beside reservation, so that we can go and manage the contract. You can also do so by clicking on the actual booking itself. But once you start doing a lot of facility bookings, it'll be harder to locate the exact bookings. So using this reservation and this number will make it easier for you to track your bookings. Now clicking on the number and reservations, we can see the total for a specific day for both the East Rink and the Ice Rink A, which are the 2 reservations that I've done. There are no contract extras that are added, but there are extra fees added. To get a better picture, you want to go into the Manage Contract to better manage this contract. Now I'll start by scrolling down where we can see that we have 2 separate reservations as part of this one facility booking contract. The first one will be for the East Rink, which will occur every Thursday between noon and 4 for a total amount of $1,440. Clicking on it will give us the breakdown of the fee. If different fees were available or if you had to change the fee, you can do so here. Please note that changing fees is not a feature that every profile will have permission to do. We'll hit close and have a look at the other booking. The Ice Rink A is charging $1,200. And in this case, we see a minor hockey primetime rate at $30 per 30 minutes and a minor hockey non-primetime at $20 per 30 minutes. This is because our prime time for minor hockey and our non-prime time are overlapped here. From 6 to 8 p.m., we are considered prime time, which is why we're charged $120. From 8 to 10, it is now considered non-prime time, which is why the lower rate will apply at $80. Perfect Mind will apply the blended rate for all the bookings that we have created for the Ice Rink A. We'll close this. Now we also have an extra that automatically applied to this booking. You can click on this extra to see what was added. We see that a flooding fee was applied at a set rate per session for a total of $89.64. This means that the flooding fee will apply for every instance of the booking for the East Rink between November 26th and December 31st. You can click Customize if you want to customize or exclude this fee from one of the bookings. Now, because the flooding fee is a per session fee, tweaking the hours won't make much of a difference. But in some cases, some of the extra fees might be set on an hourly basis. You may want to change the hours for which this extra fee will then apply. In our case, we will leave it as is and have a look at the other booking, which would be the same. Now, if another extra item should be added to one of those bookings, you can certainly do so. Let's say that for this booking, we're going to add an extra and we'll look for an insurance fee. We'll start typing insurance. And because the insurance fee can vary based on who's doing the booking or what's being booked, we only created it once at $0. Selecting it here now will allow us to actually change the price so that we can enter it once for this entire contract. The original price would be the per session price, so it would be best to use the total price if you only want to charge a total amount for the insurance fee. We will enter the total insurance fee as $250. Hit save. And now we've added our insurance fee. The flooding fee will be added to all the bookings on the ice. The fees for both rinks is calculated properly. Now to the right of both reservations, there are 3 icons. The wrench icon will be your setup and takedown instruction. If you click on that, you will see the conditions of use as were entered on the facility itself, as well as the setup, takedown instructions, and the conditions of use on the service. You can change these admin instructions for each contract if need be. If the setup or takedown time is to be increased for this particular contract, you can change that here. Quick reminder that the conditions of use both for the facility level and the service level will appear on the contract, but not the setup instructions nor the takedown instructions. Those two instructions will only show up on the maintenance report, which is a report designated for the maintenance staff. We'll hit save. While you can edit the contract using this pencil icon, it is preferable to edit it either from here if you wanted to edit the repeats, or if you wanted to edit the fees, that you would do so from here. The edit button, if we look at the repeat, we have a reminder to use the view sessions from the contract page, which would be this section right here. If we go to the booking tab, we get the same reminder, but to use the fees that are listed here. In theory, this edit button should not be used. If a repeat pattern was to be changed, you can click on this date range hyperlink, and you can use this view to either change a date, add staff, or exclude a specific booking. The last icon will be a trash can, which will allow you to delete this particular reservation. Now we'll go back up, and we can see that we have our Perfect City Youth Sports Team November 2020, which is the name of our contract. It is tentative as no payment has been processed on it yet. You can see the fees, the extras, and the total with the tax included is showing up here. You can even click on here to see the breakdown of the booking fees, the extras, and then the tax. The contract extras is where you would want to go to add a security deposit. Contract extras will be for every reservation on this contract, whereas the extras here you can add for each booking separately. Perhaps the East Rink would have the flooding fee, but not the Ice Rink A. This would be a case where the extras would be added to the East Rink, but not to the Ice Rink A. A security deposit, however, gets applied to the entire contract, which is why you would want to do it from this contract extras. Click on the dollar amount, add another extra, and do a search for security deposit. We'll go and select the Perfect Mind Community Center, as that's where our rinks are located. And you can enter the security deposit amount. The security deposit will be $500. Hit save. And our contract extra is showing $500, which is going to be held in the security deposit liability account that we've configured as part of the accounting settings. Now you can add a payment plan if you've attached a payment plan to the services. We'll use our minor sports based on usage after period of use payment plan. Now you can see the breakdown of the payments. You can click on the plus sign to expand what each item is. As a pay now, our $500 security deposit will be considered due upon booking. Security deposits will typically always be due upfront. We can have a look at the rates, which is showing us a blended rate. And the total amount of $1539.66 is due as a pay later amount. Also, the total amount will be due as a pay later and will be scheduled based on our payment plan. And you can see a breakdown of the fees. We'll go ahead and confirm and process this contract. Before we process this contract, however, a quick note on the insurance due and agreement due fields. These are fields that you can use to track when the insurance is due for the specific contract and when a signed agreement would be due as well. If you've already verified that the insurance was provided or purchased, or that the agreement was signed, you can use these checkboxes as well. These, by default, will not trigger any action in Perfect Mind, but they can. If you do need to have these fields either send an email to a customer or to a specific staff member, you can have a discussion with your implementation consultant on how to best achieve this. It is worth noting, though, that this would be considered a custom workflow and may incur a charge. Let's go ahead and process the contract and see the breakdown of all the fees here. We have the same breakdown showing up with our insurance fees, our 2 flooding fees, and the security deposit for a total of $3,934.91. We'll go ahead and hit charge. Because the security deposit is $500, this is considered as a pay now. So we'll go and leave this as is pay now. The client is Jim Jones, and we'll say that he's paying with cash. Hit next. Now the payment plan can be clicked on so that you can review the dates. If, when you created your payment plan, you allowed customization at any level, you will see those customization options when you click on the payment plan itself. In our case, we didn't have any customization, so Perfect Mind will respect what we've configured on the payment plan, which is the payment will be due after the period of usage on the 15th of the month. This is what it's showing us here. We have some bookings in November, which is worth $572, and we have some bookings in December, which will be worth $2,862.43. The payment will be due on the 15th of the month on the period after the usage, which is why the payment is due on December 15th and on January 15th. We'll close this box here, and you can now enter a method of payment. If the remaining balance is likely to be paid in cash, you can select cash and process now. Selecting cash at this stage for any upcoming payments is not going to change your cash balance report, as Perfect Mind understands that it is not processing this amount of money in cash today. Selecting cash at this level also gives you some flexibility. When the client comes back to pay the invoice, you will have the ability to change the payment method. If the client provides you with a credit card number, you can enter it here. Either the credit card already exists on file, or you can add one here to this particular contract. If I was to enter a credit card number, this means that come December 15th and January 15th, the amounts that are due will automatically be taken out of this client's credit card. We'll leave this as is and hit process now. Now here we have the information complete for Jim Jones. We'll go and look at the agreement where we have two agreements available. I'll select my Perfect City Facility Agreement, which is our custom agreement. The information is listed out. The rental summary with the breakdown of the fees for each facility, the extra fees listed out, and the invoice due dates are listed out here as well. Conditions of use are also being added to this contract, and we had no questionnaire, so nothing is going to show up on this field. Now, if you want the client to sign it or simply send this contract to the client, you can scroll back up and send to sign. The contract would be sent to the email address that you have on file. Now, to demonstrate what this will look like, we'll go ahead and change the address. We'll hit send. Now we can close the screen where we're back on our purchase summary. You can print the receipt, you can email the receipt, or we can click on the client's name to see how this facility contract is attached to his page. Now Jim Jones here has a past due amount, which you can click on to get a bit more information. And you can look at all the facility contracts listed under this client's account. We'll click on Facility Contract, which will show us all of the bookings that were made by this client. The one we've just created is listed out here and considered firmed because we went through the point of sale and have processed payments. You can click on this contract anywhere on this line to be taken right back to the contract page that we were right under. For now, I want to show you the transaction field and the invoices that it will generate. Looking at the transaction, I can see the total amount and the total balance. The total amount is $3,900, balance remaining would be $3,400 because we've paid the security deposit. If we click anywhere on this line item, we'll be taken to the invoices. This one transaction, this one contract, will generate two invoices. If we click on that, we will see that the first invoice will be due December 15th for $572.48. The second invoice due January 15th for $2,800. If the client's back and ready to process the payment, even if it's only to apply a partial payment, you can do so right from this invoices table. You would scroll to the right where you see the actions, and you could click Process Now. We'll say that the client is back to pay $300. He'll pay this in cash. And we'll hit OK. And now we have a receipt that is showing that $300 was processed in cash, and you'll see the remaining balance for the upcoming payment, which will be $272 due on December 15th. You can email this receipt directly to the client or print it out if he's there in person. Now we'll close this and go back to the contract. Go back to the client. Now say there's an amendment to be made. We'll remove 2 days from the December bookings and we'll add a couple of days. Click on the facility contract and locate the contract that you want to amend. Now here we are. We've got our booking. We can see that now it says complete. So once the contract and the bookings are completed, which would be after December 31st, you could complete this contract. If you wanted to terminate it completely, you can also do so here. We see that there's a partial amount that was applied, which is the $300 that we've just processed, plus the $500 security deposit. And here we may want to go and tweak this contract a little bit, performing an amendment. Let's go and do that. We will go and remove a date from December. I'll click on the session for the East Rink, where we are going to edit them and remove one of our sessions, which would be Christmas Eve. Now we'll hit save. This will change the total amount. And you can see that Perfect Mind is letting us know that there is an amendment in progress. Now we'll go and add another reservation for this ice rink, but we'll do a Tuesday reservation. So let's go and click on add another reservation. Let's do East Rink. And we'll do Tuesday between 12 and 4. Still for the same client. We'll do 4 hours. And we'll simply repeat it twice. We'll say repeat weekly. Twice. We'll add that reservation. And we now have 3 reservations. So let's click on it and manage the contract. Now we have a new total showing up. We've got our East Rink original contract here, except that we did remove a session. As we can see with the red calendar here, we added 2 sessions, which has added fees to the contract. You can manage all of these fees by clicking on them and validating them. For now, though, let's go and see by processing this new contract what it looks like. We are in the middle of an amendment, so we still want to go through and process it. Now, because we had a payment plan originally applied, the payment plan will automatically be applied to this amendment, and you can enter a reason. We'll hit confirm, and we'll go back through the point of sale. Hit charge. And now you can see that we have a $500 pay now and $3,700 to pay later on our payment plan. We've already processed $800, 500 of which was for the security deposit, and yet we have to process it again. This is because as of version 6.1, whenever a payment was taken and an amendment is in progress for a facility booking, the amount that was processed for this booking will be refunded to the account credit so that the whole contract can get reprocessed. When you do an amendment, you'll want to make sure that you look for this account credit, which is now showing us the $800, which is the partial payment we had already processed, to put towards the security deposit and towards the payment plan. For this first portion, I'll choose my account credit for $500. And hit next. We can click on the payment plan to see this new breakdown with the updated total, and either select a credit card or cash, but we'll place the whole amount on the credit card that we had already entered, which is remembered in Perfect Mind. We'll click process now. Have a look at the agreement. Now the agreement should show us the updated information. So we have excluded the East Rink on Thursday, December 24th, and we'll see the new bookings. Now again, this could be sent for the customer to sign, or if the customer's there and you want the customer to sign, you can do so using your mouse, or if you have a touchpad, he can do so there as well. We'll save that. And now the saved contract is showing up under Jim Jones's contact page. I can scroll down to see this updated contract with his signature. Now I'll scroll back up, click on Jim Jones, and now Jim has a credit of $300 because the $800 partial payment went back to his account credit and we were able to use 500 of those for the security deposit. We can go and apply that $300 to the December bookings. So let's go and repeat this step. We'll go back down to the transactions to see our updated transaction. And you can note here that the original contract is considered terminated, but the new contract with the added dates is now considered active. We'll click on this, scroll down to invoices, and let's hover above the actions button to process those $300 on this first payment. Now, Perfect Mind recognizes that there is a $300 credit and already assumes that the payment method for this partial payment will be taken out of the account credit. We'll leave it as is, choose $300, and click OK. Again, you can have a look at the receipt. You can email the receipt to the customer or print it. Now we'll close this, go back to the client, and we'll have a last look at the facility contract. Click on the facility contract, which is listed up here, still considered firm. And here we see the updated contract. Now, if you want to be able to go back to the contracts and see a history of amendments that were made on this contract, you can click on this amendment button here. Amendments can either show you a detail or a summary of the amendments that have been made on this contract. We'll go and select all to see all the amendments that were performed, broken down by date. We can see what was removed, what was added, and you can even go as far as to find out who made those changes. Whenever you see a column that has the 3 dots on the side, you can click on them to add a column. In this case, we can choose changed by, and we can choose the cycle number. We can see who made the changes, the amount the changes were made for, and for which facility. You can export this table to a PDF, or you can export it to a CSV file. Lastly, once the contract is completed, you would want to return the security deposit. Because we have a payment plan that is active and we have invoices in the future, we would have to manually forfeit our invoices before we can return the deposit. Now here's a booking that was just created where a deposit was taken for this client, and we'll go ahead and return the deposit. There are no outstanding invoices, the entire amount was paid, so we will be able to return the deposit. Going to this contract, we'll click Return Deposit. If any amount was set to be withheld for any reason, you can do so here. We'll hit Next. And because this payment was taken out in cash, and we did not allow cash payments to be reimbursed in cash, we get a pop-up letting us know that cash payments are refunded to the account credit only. We'll go ahead and hit Refund. And the $450 security deposit has been refunded successfully to this client's account credit. You can print the receipt, you can email the receipt, and if we go back to the client's account, we can now see that there is a credit of $450. And this concludes how to create a facility booking and create an amendment.